Okay, so how's this going to work? So on question number one here, we are graphing this, and this is an exponential function. Notice because x right here, x is in power. It's an exponent. So we call this an exponential function because the x is in power, exponential function. Okay, so how do we actually graph this thing? Well, what I'm going to suggest is to plug in x values and make a table. Start by making the power become equal to 0. That's going to be the easiest. What am I talking about? Well, here, let me make a little table for us. Let's subtract in here. A little XY value table. Okay, so this will be X and Y. So you really can plug in anything, but it'll be easiest if you start by making the power become equal to 0. So what can I plug in for X on mine? What can I plug in? I have Y equals 2 to the X plus 3 power. What can I plug in right there for X that'll make this power become 0? Well, -3, right? If I put in -3 for it, then it's going to make y will equal 2 to the -3 plus 3, and that's 2 to the 0. And do you remember that anything to the 0 power equals 1? So that gives me a point, back 3, up 1 on the graph. Do you see how I got that first dot? Is that making sense? Make the power become 1. Sorry, make the power become 0, and then anything to the 0 power is 1. So that's a rule you need to know about powers. So here's an important rule. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. By the way, that might seem strange to you. Like, why is anything to the 0 power 1? It's crazy. It's like they're making it up. No, actually, it's true. How do I mean it's true? Well, think about, you know, like x to the 3rd. Well, let's make it x to the 8th over x to the 2nd is x to the 6th, right? You subtract powers, right? You know about that rule because this really means, well, here, let me make it smaller. Let's make this 5, and this will be 3. Because you know this means 5 x's, and this is 2 x's, and they cancel, and there's 3 x's. You can subtract powers, right? You know that rule. Okay, so then what would be x squared over x squared say? Well, you subtract the powers, that's x to the 0, right? Same thing, just 2 minus 2, just like 5 minus 2 is 3, 2 minus 2 is 0. And it's also 1, isn't it? Because the same thing over itself is always 1, so that proves it. See how anything to the 0 power has got to be 1? See how that's true? They're not just making it up. It's got to be consistent with the rules. Anything to the 0 power means the top power and the bottom power subtracted, they're the same. The same thing over itself is always 1. All right, anyway, I just want to prove that to you. So anything to the 0 power is 1. So make sure you know that rule. So I'm going to plug in x values to make a table. I'm going to start by whatever. So start here by whatever value makes the power become 0. See how I made the power become 0, and then that's easy. Okay, and then what do you do from there? And then just add 1. So I'm going to go to -2. Does that make sense what I'm doing? Just add 1. Okay, so what do you get now? Well, now we'll get y equals 2 to the -2 plus 3. That's 2 to the 1. That's just 2. So y is 2. So back 2 up 2. There it is. There's that dot. Back 2 up 2. And then all you need to do is click on the 2 dots and it will automatically make the curve for you. And it'll look, let me try using this tool. I don't know if it's going to work or not. It kind of missed, huh? Yeah, I better not use that tool. It didn't work so well. So yeah, so it's gonna go something like this, like that. So it'll make the rest of the graph for you automatically. All you have to do on the graphing tool is click those 2 dots. Just find those 2 dots and it'll do the rest of the work for you automatically. So what did we see there? When they give you an exponential function where x is in power, just make a table. All you need is 2 dots. Start by making the power become 0. That's the use an x value, right? You're going to plug in x values. Use an x value that'll make the power be 0. So that is, I put in -3, then the power became 0, and that's easy. In x to the 0 power, 2 to the 0 power is 1. And then I just added 1. This went up by 1. So -3 add 1 is -2. Plug that in. That's 2 to the 1. That's 2. Put those 2 dots, and then the graphing tool will make the exponential graph for you automatically. This is what exponential graphs do. They always flatten on one side and then rocket up on the other. So they always flatten on one side and rocket up on the other. There we go.